Hey there, I'm Louie, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to crochet the Mad Titan Thanos. Yeah, this is Thanos from the new Avengers Infinity War movie, and for this video I'll be showing you how to crochet him. This is part of my Avengers bundle, including Captain America, Doctor Strange, Iron Man, and the Hulk. And if you've actually crocheted the Hulk, this is a very similar pattern, just with a lot of different color changes in it. Okay, well, without further ado, you can get those patterns at clubcrochet.com/Avengers, by the way. Without further ado, let's talk about the yarn that you're going to need. For this pattern, you'll need the following materials. I'm using all worsted weight yarn in purple, gold, navy, gray, brown, black, and then for the infinity stones, you'll need a variety of just like single strands of yarn. You'll need red, orange, blue, yellow, purple, and green. Because I'm using all worsted weight yarn, I'm using a size G crochet hook. I'm also using a darning needle and a pair of scissors. And then you'll also need some safety bead eyes and some stuffing. Oop, his eyelid's going down. Alright, well, let's get hooking. Alright, we're going to start by making his left arm, which is all going to be in this lavender purple color. And the reason we want to make this arm first is because we want to basically get an idea of how to make this arm before we make the one with the infinity gauntlet on it, because that one's going to include some color changes. So we're going to start with this light purple yarn, and like I've done right here, I've made a magic loop. And you'll want to single crochet 6 times into the magic loop. You can also use the chain 2 method here, and in that case you'd be single crocheting 6 times into the second chain from the hook. 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now I'll close it up a little bit, or a lot of bit. Okay. That's going to be the end of round 1 for the arm. Okay, for round 2, we're going to do a single crochet into the first stitch. Get our crochet hook in there. Just do a single crochet in the first one. I'm going to work around this tail just for a couple stitches to lock it into place. It's 1, and I'm sorry, I almost did an increase there. 1 single crochet in the first stitch, and then an increase in the next stitch right here. And you want to repeat that one more time. Another single crochet in the next stitch, then an increase in the next stitch. Now we'll do another single crochet, and then into this last stitch right here we want to do a bobble stitch and a single crochet into the same stitch. So we're basically doing an increase, but the first stitch is a bobble stitch. For a bobble stitch, you're going to yarn over with the yarn and go into the stitch, yarn over again and pull a loop through, yarn over a third time and pull through the 2 loops on the hook, and then you're going to repeat that 4 times total. So let's do it again. We yarn over, go into the stitch and pull 1 through, yarn over and pull through 2. Okay, so there's 2 repeats, 2 more, yarn over, into the stitch and pull 1 through, yarn over and pull through 2. Oop, there we go. One more time, yarn over, and there we go. Now you should have 5 stitch loops on the hook right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you just need to yarn over and pull through all the loops on the hook to finish up a bobble stitch. Now to finish up this round, we're going to do a last single crochet into that same bobble stitch, same place where that bobble stitch was, and that's going to finish up round 2. Okay, so for round 3 to 5, that's 3 rounds total, you're going to just do a single crochet into each stitch all the way around. So for 3 rounds, we're just doing a single crochet into each stitch, and there should be 9 stitches per round here. Okay, and that's going to be the last stitch for our 3 rounds of just single crochet. And now to finish up this arm, we're going to do 6 single crochets. So just 6 single crochets. This is I put it in the pattern as round 6, but it's really, we're cutting the round short, so it's not really a full round. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6, and then you'll make a slip stitch into the next stitch right here, and we can cut the yarn. You want enough to sew it onto the body. Okay, and then you can just pull it all the way through, and we'll sew this onto the body after we get I don't remember which round we have to get to. Now let's make the other arm with the infinity gauntlet on it. Now the other arm is made almost exactly the same as this arm, but we're going to be doing a little bit of color changes within that arm. So we're going to start with our gold yarn. Okay, and then the first 4 rounds of this are literally exactly the same as the previous arm. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up those first 4 rounds really quick. That includes round 1 is 6 single crochets into the second chain from the hook. Round 2 was when we made the bobble stitch. 5. Round 3 and 4 are just going to be regular old single crochets into each stitch all the way around. And before we finish up round 4, you want to stop 1 stitch before the end. So I'm going to go ahead and make all of those, and I'll be back in just a second. Okay, so I'm just about done with round 4. I only have this one last single crochet right here. I'm going to make it halfway. For round 5, we're going to change over to our lavender yarn. We're going to place it in between and flip it under, and we're going to pull through with our lavender yarn. For this next round, we're going to be crocheting only in this lavender color and working only in the back loops, meaning the loops furthest away from you. So we're going to take our crochet hook and get into that loop furthest away from you right there, and we're going to single crochet into each stitch, working only into those back loops. And there should be, again, 9 single crochets. Now I've already made 2, so I can cut my yarn because it's locked in there. We'll just keep working into those back loops only. And this is going to give you it kind of like a, it'll look more like a division for the arm to show the gauntlet a little bit better. Okay, just a few more. And I'm going to go ahead and stuff these little fuzzy boys in there because they're really annoying me. There we go. Okay, just a few more. And last one. Oh. That fuzzy one is coming back to haunt me. Doesn't like that I tried to stuff it away. Okay. This gold yarn that I went with is a little hard to use. I'm going to cut these 2 ends pretty close to the inside. That way we can stop worrying about them. Okay. That's going to be the end of round 5. For round 6, we're going to do the exact same thing as for the other arm. We're going to single crochet into the next 6 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then we're going to make a slip stitch into the next one. And now we can cut the yarn leaving a long enough end to sew it onto the body, of course. And just pull it all the way through. Okay, that's going to be how you crochet the second arm. Now let's add some infinity stones, because our Thanos has his infinity stones already. We're going to start by making the yellow infinity stone, which goes in the center. So let me just show you the placement for all the infinity stones. The yellow one goes right in the center of the fist, and then it goes purple, blue, red, orange along the top, and then on the thumb there's a green on the thumb. These are all made with bullion knots, which I'll show you how to make a bullion knot for this yellow one first, and then I'll go ahead and make the rest of the bullion knots, and then I'll show you how to add a little bit more detail. So let's start by making the first bullion knot right in the center with their yellow. Now I like using a somewhat small needle for this. You can use a larger darning needle like this, but it might make it a little bit easier to use something smaller. You want to start by coming out through the center of it. Now this is the right arm, meaning that the thumb is going to be pointing that way to the left. And meaning that our infinity stone that we want in the center is going to come right there. So we're going to start by coming out through the inside, right in the middle. And you want to pull the yarn almost all the way through, so you just have a little tail end sticking out so you can double knot it. Now we're going to take the end of our yarn here, and we're going to take our needle and we're going to spin it around the yarn 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Okay? Now we want to go back into the piece, not into the same place where you came out, but into the next stitch up. You need to be 1 stitch away from it. And we're going to go almost all the way through so that just the end is sticking out. And now you can pull this end and the tail end slightly tighter. And now with your non-dominant hand, pinch the knot and pull your needle through that knot. I tightened that a little too tight maybe. There we go. And now you can just pull this all the way through. That's stuck on our crochet hook there. Pull both ends through. And now you can pop it out just a little bit like that. And then we can tie the knot a little bit tighter, and you want to make it more of a ball. Now we can pull both these ends in, and we'll double knot this on the inside, and we can cut it close. Let's double knot it. You want to double knot it pretty tightly because you don't want his infinity stone falling out. That would not be good. So the yellow one is the Mind Stone. There we go. And we can cut the ends pretty close. And now I'll go ahead and make the other 4 or 5 stones. 5 stones. I'll go ahead and make the other 5 stones along the brim and on the thumb. And when I come back, I'll show you how to add a little bit more detail to these stones. Okay, so I've made our 6 infinity stones. Now I'm going to show you a little technique that I do to make it a little bit more detailed so they look like they're sitting into a socket. I take a little bit of gold yarn. Extra that gold. We can thread it on our needle. There we go. And we're just going to go into the same places that we went in and out for all these bobble stitches. So, for example, we're going to start with this yellow one here. We go out through the same stitch we went out beginning. And then we want to go in through the same stitch that we went in. And you want to do that twice so that it's on, that an extra thread of gold is on each side of the thing. And you don't want to pull it too tight. Okay, so just like that. You see how it's just adding just a little bit like kind of like it's in a socket. And this is just a little detail, and you don't need to do that and then double knot it. You can actually do that for every single one before you double knot it. So come out for the red, do the same. And again, you don't want to tie this too tight. I might need to do that second gold one again. One and two, and like I said, this is completely an optional thing that you can do. Okay. Okay, now this is the last one. I redid that yellow one a little bit, so you can see how it looks like they're all like inset into their own little sockets now. And we can double knot it on the inside with the two ends. You don't want to tie it too tight because that could screw up some of your sockets. Okay. And that is going to be how to make the right arm. I know it's a very confusing and difficult arm, but I think it's probably one of the most difficult parts of this entire pattern is this arm. Okay, so next up we're going to make the shoulder pads for our guy, and those are super easy. We just need our gold yarn again. In fact, you don't really even need very much of it. We want to make a slip knot. And all you have to do is chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now you cut the yarn. This one's already cut, so I'll just pull it all the way through, and then we'll sew this on over the arm. Alright, so next up we're going to be making the body for our Thanos, and we're going to be starting with this lavender or light purple. We're going to start the body the exact same way that we started the arms, so you'll either be using the chain 2 method or the magic loop method. And for round 1, we're going to single crochet 6 times into the magic loop or into the second chain from the hook. Exact same way to do it as the arms. 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's going to be the end of round 1. I'll go ahead and tighten my piece up a little bit now. Okay. For round 2, we're going to be working an increase into each stitch all the way around. So I'm going to get in this first stitch here. And I'm going to be working around this little tail for the first few stitches. So we want to do an increase all the way around. And that should bring you up from 6 stitches to 12 stitches around. And I'm working in the round here, meaning that I won't turn for the entire piece, just like how we made the arms. Probably should have mentioned that before I made the arms, but oh well, I didn't do that. We all make mistakes. Okay, so for round 3, we're going to work a single crochet into the first stitch, and then an increase into the next stitch right here. You're going to repeat that 6 times total. That's going to bring you up from 12 stitches to 18 stitches around. And I really think that at this point, I could probably do this with it in my sleep with my eyes closed. I used to practice that actually a lot. When I was in high school, I made a lot of beanies. And I started making so many that I would see how long I could go without closing my eyes. I ended up finishing an entire beanie one time with my eyes closed. Like Mr. Miyagi or something, but with crocheting. It felt awesome. Okay, so that's going to be the end of round 3. For round 4, we're going to increase up to 24 stitches. To do that, we're going to single crochet into the first 2 stitches, 1 and 2, and then we're going to work an increase into the next right here, 3 and 4. And we're going to repeat that 6 times total. So 2 single crochets and then an increase 6 times total to bring you up from 18 stitches to 24 stitches around. That's going to be the most that we're going to need to increase for our Thanos's head. Actually, for our Thanos in general. We're going to have 24 stitches around for pretty much the entire piece until we get to where we decrease. Okay. A few more repeats here. Alright, so that's going to be the end of round 4. For round 5 through 8, that's 4 rounds total, 5, 6, 7, 8, 4 rounds. We're going to be doing a single crochet into each stitch all the way around. There should be 24 stitches around, so that's 1 single crochet in each stitch around for 4 rounds total. Alright, I'll be back in just a sec. Okay, so we're just at the end of our 4 rounds of single crochets in all light purple. This is our last stitch, and I've pulled it halfway through because now we're going to be doing our color changes. So we're going to grab our gold yarn. Now, these are going to be different color changes than what I did for the arm. Basically, we're doing color changes where the top of the stitch is one color and the bottom of the stitch is another color. To do that, we're going to place the new yarn in between and change colors like you normally would. So pull through with our new color, which is going to be gold. But the bottom of our stitch we want to be purple. So we flip back under so that purple's on top, and we go into the next stitch and pull purple through. And that's how you're going to make a half color change. So for this round, we're going to do all single crochets, so it's not going to be any different from the last few rounds, but we're going to be doing a few of these color changes in there. For the first stitch, you want half gold, half purple. Okay, we've done that. Now we want to have 8 stitches in all purple. So now we're going to pull through with purple, and we're going to do 8 stitches not using this gold yarn. We can actually pull it to the side now. And we're going to do 8 stitches in purple. I'm actually going to cut this yarn because it's 8 stitches away. If it was less stitches, I wouldn't cut the yarn. I would crochet around it, or I'd leave the yarn and come back to it. So we're going to do 8 stitches in this light purple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and here's going to be our 8th. We're going to pull halfway through, get our gold yarn again, place it in between. We're going to change back to our gold yarn, and for the rest of these stitches in this round, we're on round 9 by the way. For the rest of the stitches for that, we're going to do half gold, half lavender. So the bottom's lavender, top is gold. And we're going to keep doing that for the rest of the stitches. That's 15 stitches total. So we finished 1, here's 2, 3, 4, and we're just going to keep doing that all the way to the end. There should be 15 till we get to the end. As you keep going, you'll notice that your yarn will start to candy cane up. That's what I call it. Basically meaning that it's going to spiral up like that. To fix that, you're going to grab the 2 ends. We're going to pull the needle out. We're going to grab our 2 ends of colors and just hold it up, and the yarn will just spin around like that. And then we can continue on without it being all tangled up and annoying. Okay, so I'm at the end of our half gold, half lavender stitches, and we're going to pull through with our gold yarn here. I actually already cut this lavender, which you don't need to do. I did it by accident. And that's going to finish up round 9. For round 10, we're doing a single crochet into each stitch, but we have a little caveat. If you're working a half gold, half gray stitch, meaning that the top is gold and the bottom is gray, you'll be working into the back loop only, meaning the loop's furthest away from us. I'll show you that and explain that when we get to it. You'll be doing that for half gold, half gray stitches and lavender stitches for the next 2 rounds. Again, I'll explain it for every stitch as we go. First off though, we're doing 2 stitches in all gold. So we can work 1 stitch in all gold, and our second stitch in all gold, and that's worked into both loops. Now we can grab our lavender yarn, and we want to do 7 stitches in half gold, half lavender, just like the end of the last round. We want to do 7 stitches in half gold, half lavender. So we got 1, okay, 2, and because these aren't half gray, we're going to be working into both loops. And we're basically making his chin right now. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. We want 7 in half and half. Now we can pull through with our gold. Now our next 2 stitches are worked all in gold. So for our first stitch, we're going to work around this lavender, and we can cut it loose. Okay. And pull it through. That's the end of our lavender stitches. We'll need a little bit more lavender for these little chin stripes that he has. He's got like lines on his chin, but we'll get to that in a sec. Our next stitch is all gold, so we'll go ahead and do an all gold stitch. We're not going to finish it up though, because for our next 4 stitches, we want them to be half gold, half gray. So we're going to grab our gray yarn and place it in between. And we're going to pull through with our gold yarn, because we want the top to be gold and the bottom to be gray. And because these next 4 stitches are half gold, half gray, we're going to be working only in the back loops, meaning the loops furthest away from us. So we're going to go into that back loop. We're going to pull through with our gray yarn, switch over to our gold yarn, and pull through with our gold yarn. And we want to do that only in the back loops for the next 4 stitches that are gray gold, or gold gray, or whatever you want to call it. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay? We're going to pull through with our gold. Now for our next 5 stitches, we want them all to be gold. This means that we don't need to work only in the back loops. We can work into both loops. And we don't need to cut the gray yarn yet, because we're going to come back to it in just a second anyhow. So for 5 stitches, we're going to be doing all gold. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and here's 5. Okay, we're not going to finish our 5th one yet though, because we need to get our gray yarn back in here. And I like to place my index finger in between the gray yarn and our piece, just to leave a little bit of room. And we're going to pull through with our gold yarn. Okay, so for our next 4 stitches, we're making them in half gold, half gray, which means that you need to do it into the back loop only. Okay, so back loop only, half gray, top is gold. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, and here is our 4th. Okay, we're going to pull through with our gold yarn. And that's going to be the end of round 10. Now for round 11, we're doing the same kind of thing, where if it's half gold, half gray, we're working the back loops. If it's navy, we're working the back loops. If it's anything else, we're working into both loops. Okay, so we're going to do 4 in gold/gray, meaning we're working the back loop. So 4 stitches, gold, gray. 1, 2, got this little piece of gold yarn pulling through there. Here is 3, and 4. I'm going to pull through with our gold. For the next 3 stitches, it's all gold, so we don't need to work into back loops only. We can use both loops. 1, 2, and I'm just working around this gray yarn. Here's 3. We can pull through with gold there. For the next 4 stitches, again, we're going to be doing half gray, half gold. So we need to work into those back loops. 4 stitches worked into the back loops. 1, 2, 3, and this is going to be our 4th. Now we're not going to finish this one. We need to grab our navy yarn now. So let's grab our navy yarn. And we're going to place it in between the yarns, and we're going to pull through with, oops. We're going to pull through with all navy. So I'm going to go around the 2 strands here with navy and pull through with navy. I'm going to pull our gray yarn and our gold yarn a little bit tighter. Okay, so for the rest of this round, we're working in all navy yarn, and because it's navy, we're working into the back loops only. So for the rest of this round, we're working back loops only in navy. I worked around these 2 strands for the first stitch there. Now I can cut it loose. Okay, we can pull those yarn out. And there's going to be 13 more stitches working in this navy yarn. And we're working only in these back loops. This is going to give it kind of like a very defined look to where his gold yarn, gold like armor shows. Okay, a few more stitches here. Okay, and here's our last stitch. That's going to be the end of round 11. For round 12, we're working all in this navy yarn, and it's all going to be single crochets. But for the first 11 stitches, we're working in the back loops only. And then for the next 13 stitches, we're working into both loops. So let's start by doing our 11 stitches just in our back loops. Again, this is all in navy. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and here is 11. Now we can work into both loops for the next 13 stitches. Still, we're working all in navy, and we're working into both of these loops. Okay. Okay, and this is going to be the end of round 12. For round 13, we don't need to worry about back loops or front loops or anything like that. We're doing some color changes, but we can work into both loops for the entire next round. We're going to need our gold yarn. So for the first stitch, we'll just single crochet 1 in just all navy. Now we can grab our gold yarn and place it in between. And we're going to pull through with our gold yarn, because for our next 11 stitches, we're working half gold, half navy, meaning the top is gold and the bottom is navy. So let's continue on. And we're working in both loops again. And this is 11 stitches in half gold, half navy. So 1, 2, Oopsies. 3, 4, 5, 6. Our navy yarn, need to get a little bit more. 7, 8, 9, 10, and our last one right here is going to be 11. Now you can pull through with our navy yarn. And for our next 12 stitches, it's going to be all in navy yarn. Okay, we're going to work around this gold one right here, and we're going to cut it loose. And we'll go ahead and finish this round by just doing navy stitches all the way till we get to the end. Okay, so we're at the end of round 13 now, and I'm just going to finish up with all navy. I'm going to pull this stitch out before we do round 14, but before we do that, we want to add our face. So I'm going to pull it apart just a little bit. We're going to start by adding the eyes. The eyes both go into round 8, and the first one, so first let's find round 8. I find the last increase that we made, which is right there. That's going to be round 4, the end of round 4. So round 4, 5, 6, 7. So this next round is going to be round 8. So we count over 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. And into that stitch is where we want our first eye. So we place our needle into the middle of the V, and you want to pull it almost all the way through, and then you can spin the needle a little bit, and that's going to stretch out the stitch. We can take our safety bead eye, I'm going to place it in between that stitch, just like that. And then I just wiggle it on the outside, and then you can see it popping through on the inside. Okay? And then we'll take this little locking mechanism, and we're going to place it on top and just lock it in. Okay? That's how you're going to do one of the eyes. Now the other eye is 5 stitches away because there's 4 stitches in between eyes. So we're going to count 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we're going to go into the center of that stitch right here. Okay. And we're just going to twist, 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 just to stretch that stitch out just a little bit. Take our next eye, place it in between, just wiggle it in. Okay, we can lock it in on the inside. All right, that's going to be where you place the eyes. Now we can add some like angry expression on his face because, you know, he's Thanos. He's not a happy fella. We're going to take a little bit of our lavender yarn, cut it, oops, and we're going to take our needle, thread the yarn on there. And how I add an angry expression is I start by going in through the stitch to towards the inside, so right here. Okay, so you want to go in through that stitch, and we can pull that out. And with the other end, you want to go, whoop, didn't get that whole thing in there. There we go. You want to go across and then up through the top right there. You want to go in through that stitch. And that's going to give him a little bit of an angry eyelid thing going on. Don't pull it too tight, but we can double knot it on the inside now. Okay, so let's just double knot that. And again, you don't want to pull it too tight, but you also don't want it to be too loose, or else the eyelid will slip off sometimes. Which, I mean, that's not that big of a deal, though, so. And we'll do that for the other eye as well. We're going to go towards the inside, so right there. Around, and then up through the stitch to the right of it. Right here. Okay. Go above the eye. There we go, our Mad Titan. He's mad now. And we can double knot these two on the inside. Oopsies, he got on the bottom. Now he looks happy. I don't want him looking happy. There we go. Okay, you can cut these ends. And we want to grab just a little bit more of this lavender yarn. Not that much. And I'm going to use my slightly larger darning needle for this just because it'll make it a little easier to thread the end. And I don't really need a sharp one. We're going to do vertical lines along his chin, because that's what Thanos has. He's got these weird vertical lines on his chin. So what we're going to do is we're going to come out through the top right here. And you actually want to go, we're going to go down and then over a stitch. Actually, we're going to go over 2 stitches like that. Okay? See, so I skipped that stitch, went out that one. And you don't want to pull this too tight. You want it pretty loose, actually. We're going to go up to the top one and then over 2 stitches. Down to the bottom one, over 2 stitches. Okay, and then one more. We're going to go up through the top, and then we're going to go back, but just 1 stitch over. Okay, so you're filling it in now. 1 stitch over. I pulled that one just a little too tight. If you want more defined lines on the chin, then do this twice. Now see, so I'm filling in the ones in between them. So right here, we're going to go down and 2 stitches over. Up, 2 stitches over. And you want to finish up by going down. Okay. And now we can double knot these 2 on the inside. You can also make a little face here. You can do a little smile, like a little sly smile that Thanos often has, because he thinks he's the best in the West. The West of the universe, of course. I don't know what that means. All right, so we're gonna cut the yarn there. Okay, and that's going to be how we're going to add our face. Now let's get back to crocheting. We're going to be making round 13 now. So we're going to pull this navy yarn out 1 stitch just so we can get our yarn ready for the next round. Now here's the thing for this next round. A lot of the stitches are worked into the back loops. In fact, if you're working into, let's see, for the first, well, I'm just going to have to play it by ear. Okay, so first we need to grab our brown yarn and our black yarn. We'll also need a little bit of our gold yarn. Okay. We're going to start by changing to our brown yarn. I'm going to pull through with brown. And we're going to single crochet 3 in this brown yarn. Okay, we want to work into the back loops for the first one right here, just for our navy stitch. Okay, and now you can work into both loops for the next few stitches. So one, we can cut our navy yarn, pull it out. There's one. Now we're working into both loops. Two, and here's our third. Now you want to grab your black yarn, and we're going to do a bobble stitch. Do you remember the bobble stitch from the arms? We're going to do that, but we're going to do a little bit of color changes within the bobble stitch to make it have a little bit more detail to it. So first we're going to pull through with our black yarn. We actually also need to have our gold yarn in between too. So gold and black yarn in between. We're going to flip under and pull through with our black yarn. Now for this next stitch, we're working into both loops. We're doing a bobble stitch, but we want the bobble stitch to have some color changes in it. So you have to do it exactly this way to get this perfect look. We're going to first start by yarning over with black. Now we want to put brown on top of the black yarn and go into the next stitch. Pull through with our brown yarn, then switch back over to black and pull through two of the loops with our black yarn. Okay, now that's the first one. For the second one, we want to yarn over with our gold yarn. Okay, so I yarn over with the gold yarn, I place the brown over the gold yarn, go into the stitch, and pull through with our brown yarn. I'm going to pull that gold yarn a little tighter now. Now we're going to switch back over to our black yarn, have it go under it, and pull through the two loops with our black yarn. We're going to repeat that gold one again. So we yarn over with the gold yarn, switch over to brown yarn, go into the loop, pull through with our brown yarn, pull that gold yarn a little tighter, and then switch back to our black yarn and pull through two with our black yarn. Now for this last one, we're going to do the same thing that we did for our first one. We're going to, oops, there we go, yarn over with our black yarn, switch over to our brown yarn, go into the stitch, if I can, there we go, pull through with our brown yarn, switch back to our black yarn and pull through two loops with our black yarn. So you can kind of see we got like a little foot thing going here. Now we want to finish up by yarning over with our brown yarn and pull through all the loops on the hook with brown. Now if you didn't get that, we'll be doing that again in just a second. For the next stitch, we're going to single crochet in all brown yarn. We can work around these two little ends here. Okay, so we can just work in the two loops there, brown yarn. Okay, for our next three stitches, we can work into the back loops with our brown yarn. So working into the back loops, we got 1, 2, 3. Now to the next stitch, you can work into both loops with our brown yarn. And we're going to get our colors ready again so we can do another foot. Okay. We're going to pull through with our black yarn. We're going to do this foot the exact same way. So I'm going to go nice and slow again. Yarn over with our black yarn, switch to our brown yarn, go into the next stitch. Pull through with our brown yarn, switch to our black yarn, and pull through two with black. Okay, next up, yarn over with gold yarn, switch to brown yarn, go into the next stitch, yarn over and pull through with brown yarn, pull that gold a little tighter, then switch to our black yarn, yarn over and pull through two with black yarn. We're going to do that again, yarn over with gold yarn, switch to brown yarn, go into the stitch, pull through with brown yarn, pull the gold a little tighter, switch to black yarn, pull through two with black yarn, and then last up we're going to repeat that first one we did. yarn over with black yarn, switch to brown yarn, go into the stitch, pull through with brown yarn, switch to black yarn, and pull through 2 loops with black yarn. And we finish up the bobble stitch by pulling through all the loops on the hook with brown yarn. Okay, I know that's confusing. For the rest of the stitches, we're using all brown yarn though, so we can just single crochet into the next stitch around. Okay. We can cut these 2 colors loose because we don't need them anymore. We did our most difficult part, the feet. We're going to single crochet in the next one into both loops. Now for all these navy stitches, we're going to work only in the back loops, meaning the loops furthest away from us. Okay? And it's going to be all brown yarn. So we're just going to single crochet into the back loops all in brown until we get to the end of our round. There should be, I think there's 14. Yeah, 14 stitches in brown yarn. Okay. That's actually going to be the end of our main crocheted part. The rest of our piece is going to be worked in brown, and we're going to be decreasing down. But before we do that, we're going to need to sew on our arms. So I'm going to pull this brown yarn out pretty far. Okay. And we're going to be adding our arms now onto the sides of our guy. So what I'm going to do is I'm first going to take a pipe cleaner and we're going to fold it in half. You don't have to do this. This is just a way to make opposable arms. Fold the pipe cleaner half and cut it. And ruin my scissors. Now we're going to fold the half of the pipe cleaner in half yet again and cut it. And ruin my scissors a little bit more. Now, last but not least, we're going to fold this last piece of pipe cleaner in half yet again, and we're going to start twisting it. You want to have kind of a circle at the end right there. Okay, you want to twist it pretty far, not too far though, like leave these 2 ends like that. Okay. Now we're going to take our arm, the left, or I guess the right arm right here is going to be in purple. So we want to find out where we want to place this arm. I say we want to place it right like that. Okay, so we find out where the center of that is. You can take a needle here, just place it where you think the center is going to be. Let's say like right here. And we're going to take the 2 ends of our pipe cleaner and we're going to place it one in exactly where I put that and the other one just over to the left of that, right like that. We're going to place it in there, just wiggle it in so we get both ends on the inside. Okay. And again, you don't have to do this, but you can. Now we're going to take these 2 ends of the pipe cleaners and we're going to twist them around. Open it up. And this is going to give you opposable arms. Okay. Now you can place the arm on the pipe cleaner like that. Okay. This pipe cleaner is sticking out just a little bit too far, so I'm going to fold it in half. Just the end right there. Okay. Now we can place our piece on top. And we're going to sew this purple on. First, we're going to thread our middle purple yarn here, which we're going to use to double knot it on the inside. And we're going to place this needle in the middle of the pipe cleaner. Okay. Place this over pipe cleaner. Now we're going to proceed to sew this arm on. This is all a matter of just picking the best spots. Okay, so we want it to be right there like that. And the way I like to do is I like to place it over where it's going to be, and then I just kind of like go for it. I know there's 9 stitches around, so kind of want to get just 9 stitches around. Okay. Make sure it's over that pipe cleaner. And you want that thumb pointed on towards the inside. Don't forget that you're going to need to stuff this before you finish sewing it all together. The arm, I mean, and the whole piece. But right now, let's focus on the arm. Okay, out through the next stitch right there. Okay, we're going to go around the arm. Up, and let's go through. Well, let's count now. Let's see. We're going to count our stitches on the arms. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 7 is the one that's coming out of there. So we got to count from there to here. We need 7 stitches. So I'm showing you how I pick where I sew things on. So we need 7 stitches. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That works. Okay, so we're going to start by going up. Oopsies, I forgot to sew the arm on though. Okay, there we go. Sewing things together is my least favorite part of making amigurumi for sure. But it does make it better, a better piece when I do sew things on. Okay. So before I finish sewing this arm on, we want to stuff it in just a little bit. So we're going to grab our stuffing. And you'll need some kind of stick to stuff it with. I use a little chopstick. And I'm going to use the flat side of the chopstick. Just going to stuff that stuffing in there. And you don't need this much stuffing. That's actually way too much. Just a little bit will work. You don't want to overstuff the arm. But, you know, he's a strong guy. You want it to be a little bit stuffed. Okay, couple more. We're going to come out exactly where we started. Oopsies. Got a little loop going on here. There we go. We're going to go through that bottom one. We're going to double knot it together with these two lavender ends. And I'll go ahead and sew on the other arm on the other side, and I'll be back after I do that. Okay, so I've sewn on the arms, and look, they're opposable, so you can move them, have them facing any direction you want. Next up, we want to sew on his shoulder pads that we made. So we're going to grab these shoulder pads and our needle. And the shoulder pads are pretty simple. You don't really even need to sew them on very tightly. You want just one end on one side of one arm and then you want to come out through the top of the arm. Okay, and then you want to go down through the inside of the shoulder blade armor. So just in the inside of this shoulder blade armor, like right through the middle, and then go through the next side of the shoulder blade armor right here. And then we can place it into our piece to the next part on the top of the arm. Pull it pretty tight. And then we're going to take this other end and sew it into the back of the arm right there. Then you can just double knot these two ends, and you don't even really need to do that middle part if you don't want to. I don't think it'll come apart, but you can see how it just adds a little bit of detail on the top of that arm. And we can just double knot these and cut it close. And I'll go ahead and sew on the other shoulder blade, and I'll be back in just a sec. Okay, and the last bit of detail that I want to do is I'm going to use a little bit of extra gold yarn to make more of a V on his chest. So we're going to take it, come out through there, and go out right through the middle, down through his chest, then up through the left side, and then come back down through the same spot on the chest. This is just going to add just a little bit of detail so that he's got more of a point for his body armor. And you can double knot that and cut it. And then we can get back to crocheting the body and finishing up our Thanos. Cut these two ends. Okay, place that to the side, that to the side, there we go. Okay, now let's get back to crocheting. For our next round, we're going to be decreasing down. There we go. We want to decrease down from 24 stitches down to 12 or to 18 stitches. So to do that, we're going to single crochet 2, and we're using all brown yarn now. So single crochet 2, and then we're going to do something that I call a sharp decrease, where you go into the next stitch and you pull a loop through. Then you go into the next stitch, pull another loop through, and pull that second loop through the 2 on the hook. Okay, and you want to repeat that process 6 times total. So that's 2 single crochets, 1 and 2, and then a sharp decrease. If I can get that, there we go. All right. So you want to repeat that 6 times total. That's going to bring you down from 24 stitches to 18 stitches around. We're going to keep decreasing this piece down as well, and then stuffing it and sewing it closed. We can also add a finger puppet addition to it, which I'll not be explaining in this video, but I can explain it in, I have another video that is just for how to create finger puppets. Okay. The last repeat's coming up. I'm going to single crochet 2, 1, 2, and then decrease. Okay, so that's going to be almost the last round. For our next round, round 16, we're going to single crochet 1 in the next stitch and then decrease into the next. And you're going to repeat that, there we go, 6 times total. And that's going to bring you down from 18 stitches to 12 stitches around. Decrease, single crochet, decrease, there we go. Alright, so now that you have 12 stitches around, we want to add some stuffing. Now if you want to add a finger puppet, you don't want to add too much stuffing, so just, I mean, you definitely don't want them to be too filled up, but you also simultaneously don't want it understuffed. Understuffed sounds like a yarn version of Undertale, the game. Let me go grab some more stuffing. Okay. Needs a little bit more stuffing than that. Yeah, and you just want to be careful not to overstuff it because the stuffing will show through your stitches, especially if you haven't crocheted the stitches too tightly. Okay, he's almost stuffed up enough. He's got a cold. He's almost stuffed up enough. Okay. All right. That should be good. Now to finish this guy up, you can either do a finger puppet method, which you can watch a video for. I have at the, there should be a link in the description below. Or you can just close it up by doing a decrease into each stitch all the way around, and then just stuffing it a little bit more, sewing it closed. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to like it down below and consider becoming a Club Crochet member to get a bunch of more Avengers patterns and more amigurumi tutorials just like this one. Thanks again for watching. Pasta la pizza and happy hooking. Raw. Wait. That's him snapping. You're all dust now. Haha.